We just finished the morning session of day 4 of the Diddy trial, where we've been watching the cross-examination of Cassie Ventura, one of Diddy's longtime girlfriends who he was allegedly sexually trafficking for a very long period of time. Now, the defense, who's conducting the cross-examination, is taking the tactic that Cassie was a strong, independent woman who was making her own choices, and that she wasn't actually being trafficked, but that she was making choices, albeit probably very poor choices, out of great love for Diddy, that she chose to engage in this behavior rather than being compelled and coerced into this behavior. This sets up a scenario for the defense where they're in a very difficult position. The position is, if they dismantle her on cross and make her look weak, it might be defeating their entire agenda of saying that she was a strong, independent woman making her own choices. So they're sort of caught between a rock and a hard place. Her testimony over the last 2 days set up where she's met the elements, or she's established that Diddy's conduct likely met the elements of coercing her through a combination of violence and or blackmail, and that she did feel as if she had no choice. During her direct examination, she said, how do you get out of a situation like this? And that is what the state was looking for. So now when you're on cross-examination, on the one hand, you need to defeat those elements. On the other hand, you don't want to make her look too weak, because if you make her look too weak, she's someone who couldn't make her own choices, and you're almost feeding into the state's narrative. And that's why I think it's very interesting for me to report to you that the nature and tone of this entire cross-examination so far has been unlike most cross-examinations I think I've ever seen in my life. It feels like we're watching an interview from People magazine. The entire conversation, from both the attorney's perspective, and the attorney is Ana Esteveo, and she's asking questions almost as if she's curious to learn about Cassie's life, like she's writing a book for her. And Cassie seems very comfortable on the stand, and to my mind, highly credible. In fact, just to give you an example of the exchange and how they're trying to build her up as if she's, this strong, independent woman, they talk about how the first time she ever kissed Diddy was when he surprised her with a kiss in the bathroom on her 21st birthday, and the development of their relationship very quickly over that period of time. And Esteveo was asking and saying, well, by the time you turned 21, you already were a very successful young woman, weren't you? Yes. And people wanted to know you. You had a hit song by that point already, right? Yes. You were a successful model at that point. Yes. And you're very charming and beautiful. And she says, thank you. And the whole room laughed. And that's the tone here. The tone is as if it's some sort of magazine, detailed look into her life. And I think that's probably a healthy strategy for the defense, because what they're doing is, in that scenario, is they're helping her set up that she was a strong, independent woman, that she had a successful career that was going for her, and that she wasn't some flower who was easily led astray by a powerful music mogul. So that's the tone that we've seen throughout this entire time. Before I continue with the rest of the cross-examination, I will tell you that Diddy is sitting there, and he too looks like he's very relaxed. He does not look like a man who's in fear that he's going to be spending the rest of his life in prison. Sitting next to his attorneys with crossed legs, sitting back the entire time, often whispering with his attorneys and looking as if they're having some sort of engaging conversation, not during the testimony so much as when there are sidebars or there are breaks here and there, but he certainly seems to look like he's very comfortable in this atmosphere, which all the participants seem like they are very comfortable in this atmosphere, whether you're talking about the lawyers or the witnesses or Diddy himself. Now, with respect to testimony that was elicited this morning, so there was a lot of talk about the nature of their developing relationship and reading of different text messages wherein in some of them, Cassie is coming across as if she has a very strong sexual interest, not only in Diddy, but in some of them that she's savoring these freakoffs, which are the incidents that are at the heart of the trafficking charges. And the point being that the defense wants to think, the jury to think, is that she was a willing participant here. And she read off many segments, mostly from 2009, which were sexually explicit, Some of them talking about her interest in engaging with Diddy directly. Some of them seemingly referencing her engagement in the freakoffs themselves. We also that was how things were going in the early part of the morning session. And even while conducting this part of it, in order to continue this theme, that this is not a defense team that is looking to rip this witness apart, even while reading and the way they would conduct the whole reading of long segments is that the lawyer would read Diddy's section of a conversation, and they would have Cassie read her own section. And she even offered, she said, if any point you feel uncomfortable reading your own section, just tell me and I'll happily read it for you. And this entire feel that the defense is trying to give is, we're not trying to hurt this woman. We just want to get her story out there. And if we get her story out there, you'll see she was a strong, independent woman making her own choices. I think that this was an excellent strategy by the defense. I think that the way they're handling this is good as far as setting up for very strong closing arguments to try and say that she was not someone who was crushed by Diddy. So I have to give them credit in that regard. Now, some people were critical of the fact that she's often been corrected, or there have been objections to some of the questions that she's asked. I personally think that this attorney, Ms. Esteveo, is doing a rather excellent job overall in the way she's conducting it. She also is trying to establish that no one else was supposed to know about this, not people from her friends, not people from his staff, asking questions as to what did they know about these freakoffs that they were setting up. You were going out there to set up, you were going out there to help, and if they helped, were they told that this was for a freakoff? The reason that they're asking these questions are to help defeat the RICO charges, to say that in order for there to be a successful RICO conviction, you need to show that he's part of an enterprise. People are all working together to help get this agenda done. If they don't know, if the staff and security don't know what's happening in these hotel rooms, in that case you would think that Diddy can successfully raise a defense that this is not a criminal enterprise, he's a one-man guy, and these other people are not trying to help facilitate any conduct that was illegal. So I thought that there was a good strategy, there was good questions in that direction. They also asked him she also asked about the damage that was caused by the $30 million lawsuit, the damage to Diddy's reputation and brand, and got an admission from Cassie that she believes that it probably hurt his image. And I think the purpose behind that line of questioning was to make the jury feel as if Cassie has already punished Diddy enough. And to build that mindset that yes, he may have hurt her, but he's already punished her enough in that because of his lawsuit, allegedly, purportedly, he's lost everything. So that she's already taken him down and perhaps eliciting some sort of sympathy from the jury that he's already paid enough of a price rather than having to face a criminal conviction. Another form of questioning that I thought was really good is they talked about different things that Diddy did to help build her up. He said he would bring you down a lot, but even asking her to answer, what did he do to build you up? And she talked about, how he would give her offer encouragement. Earlier during the cross-examination, he was talking about how he had her back. That was early on in the cross-examination. And later on, when she was detailing different things about how he was inspirational, in order to try and defeat the issues as far as him controlling how she dressed, which is one of the natures and forms of control that the state elicited on direct examination. They raised the fact that he has a popular sense of style and fashion, and got her to admit that he's made an impact on the fashion world, and saying that many people consulted with him on how to dress. Now, that may be true, it may not be true. She actually said yes, that many people do consult with him, so let's accept that as a given. That doesn't necessarily tell us that she was coming to him because she was looking to get the fashion icon's perspective rather than trying to satisfy the whims of a person who was controlling her, as the state would have us believe. But I certainly think that this was helpful to try and put some context from the defense's perspective that you have to believe beyond a reasonable doubt that he's controlling her. Well, this is a form of control that you can really raise questions. Was she coming to him with these fashion questions because she felt compelled to follow his whims, or because of her own personal interest in getting consulting advice from someone who's recognized by her own admission as a fashion icon? So the nature of the way they're asking these questions and setting up the trying to set up context here, it comes across as if this is a comfortable interview and we want to try and reframe how the jury is looking at Diddy and the nature of the relationship that was going on here, that she was looking and coming to him for help, and that she was looking to strengthen and bolster the relationship, and not looking to please him necessarily, but for her own benefits as well. And I think that so far they're doing fairly well. Before we wrapped up this morning, there was a big talk about drug usage and coming off of drugs and what type of drugs. And she said that she was unaware of Diddy being addicted to any drugs other than opiates. Although when she was first asked, what do you think Diddy is addicted to, she answered success, which was a pretty funny answer. And she said, no, I mean, what substances do you think he's ever been addicted to? And she said opiates. And when she was asked about other drugs that he may have been addicted to, she said that he took them, but she never felt he was addicted to any other drugs other than opiates. And then the nature of the questions went to the reaction to withdrawal and feeling irritable, and asking her how she felt when she would go through withdrawal and tried to beat her own opiate addiction, and she said that she would feel irritable. And the nature of the questions then went to, did he seem like he was more irritable during periods when he was going through withdrawal? And she's like, I don't know. I'm not sure when he was going through withdrawal. So I think that from the state's perspective, from the defense's perspective, I think they have to feel as if they've made some headway here, at the very least in forming some sort of context and framing where Diddy appears far less monstrous than he appeared during the direct examination. I'll let you know how this all develops, and I'm certainly going to break this down in far greater detail tonight. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the bell if you want more notifications and updates. I'm giving you perspectives on this trial that nobody else is even trying to give you. So please make sure you like and hit the bell. I'll see you next time. Godspeed.